As you creep from bush to tree, following the tracks of your quarry, you hear a snarl from just above you. As you look up at the source of the noise, you see a slavering, toothy maw lunging at you from the canopy above. Roll initiative. Hello, and welcome to Tuna's Tales. For Pondering Monsters this week, we'll be going hunting. The creature we're looking for specifically on this one is a Rage Drake from the Monster Manual Expanded 2 by Dragonix. This author has put out several good monster books and more that you can find on the DM's Guild, but if you don't have access to their work for whatever reason, fret not. This encounter can actually work with any creature you want. If that's not enough for you, then what if I said you can run this encounter multiple times for the same table, and if they enjoyed it once, they'll enjoy it every time? Eh? If you're curious what exactly I mean by that, then stick around and we'll start looking at this encounter. As our heroes enter the woods to the south of the village, they waste no time in getting to work. Everyone has their job to do, and if they want to make it back in one piece, they'll all need to do it well. A couple of the heroes have their weapons at the ready, as the other two seem to be following some large tracks left in the forest floor. After several hours of searching, the group comes across what they're looking for. Lounging high up in a tree is a large creature that resembles a red dragon without wings. As the heroes move into position, they're unaware that they have gone from hunter to hunted, as a second one of these creatures lunges out of the underbrush at them. After a substantial fight with these two creatures, the heroes can take a breather before continuing with their work. They start to tie these creatures up, while keeping an eye out for scavengers, and begin their long trek back to the village, where they head straight to the butcher shop. Upon presenting the butcher with not one, but two of these creatures, he kneels down and begins inspecting their quality. After looking them over, the butcher agrees that they are what he asked for before producing several bags of coin for the adventurers. He thanks them for going above and beyond what he asked for, and tells them that if they're looking for more coin in the future, they should check back later for another bounty.
I feel like I should have some issues with this, but I'm gonna let it slide for now because I've got some questions.
Oh, hey Red. Yeah, let's hear what you got.
First question, did you have to use a drake? I know they're not true dragons, but come on, it's like hunting my cousin or something.
I know. It's okay, Red, and no, you don't need to use a drake. I said it earlier, but you can really use any creature here.
Like humanoids?
There are several issues with that, but if you want to have that tone in your games, then yeah. Otherwise, there are plenty of beasts and monstrosities that you can use instead.
Oh, like a Tarrasque.
I like your enthusiasm, but maybe back it off a little bit there. You could do that, but if you don't want to pit your party against Godzilla, at least not yet, then the Rage Drake that I picked for this is a CR8 creature. This should be around a hard encounter for a fresh 5th level party, but since a GM knows their party best, feel free to pick either a higher or lower CR creature depending.
Okay, so why should we use this encounter then?
Well, it's good for a couple of reasons actually. A GM-specific reason to use this is if you need a little more time to prep for something you know that's coming up. You can stretch this style of encounter into a full session or two if you really needed. On the player side, though, if your party is hurting for coin and you want to get some to them sooner than later, then having the local butcher offer a bounty for interesting types of meat is a good option.
Like a quest board?
Exactly, except a little better in my opinion.
Oh? Why's that?
Well, quest boards are very general. You can have people requesting that an item be delivered, that they need someone to help them in their fields, or there could be a bounty for bandits or a nearby monster. You could keep putting monster bounties on a quest board, but at some point someone's going to ask why there are so many monsters terrorizing the area. Actually, that sounds like a neat idea. I might need to make a video on this in the future. Regardless, if you use the local butcher, then you have a concrete reason to keep using monster bounties, an NPC that you can use for any number of other purposes with the party, and a potential home base or friendly face for the party.
I think I get what you're getting at, but can't I just have the butcher post to a quest board?
You could, and there'd be nothing wrong with that, but it seems kind of impersonal to me. If that's what works for you though, then go for it. No matter how you go about it, your party still gets a reward out of it, and they get to blow off some steam in-world with a simple combat.
I do like that occasionally.
I know, right? I've used this a couple of times in my games, and my players are fans of it.
So, on the topic of a reward then, how much should my party get?
As much as you feel is fair. The butcher is the one paying out, so ideally it should make sense related to how much they make regularly.
But he's a butcher. How would he have adventurer levels of gold laying around?
Well, you can make the case that since this is exotic meat, the butcher is getting paid very well for his cuts and can offer whatever he wants. If you don't want to go too high with the reward though, then you can use the random treasure table in the DMG, but I feel like that's a little too on the low side more times than not.
So, what would you offer?
Honestly, I'd say it depends on how tough the creature is to hunt. A Rage Drake, which I'd consider to be on the higher end of CR8, would probably be worth at least 500 gold and all the way up to 750 gold if there's more than one of them.
Okay, that makes sense.
Any other questions, Red?
Yeah, I've got one more actually. How do you go about hunting this creature? I mean, I know how to hunt. I just want to see if you know how.
Of course, Red. Well, skill checks are the short answer to this. Specifically, you can run this as a group skill check with everyone contributing to the party's success or failure. If you go this route, then you can tailor the DCs of the skill checks to how tough the creature is. The stronger the creature, the higher the DCs.
Wait, failure?
Oh, yeah, if there's no chance of failure, then why even roll?
That makes sense. So if they fail, they just won't find the creature?
That's one option, sure, but what if failure means your party are the ones getting hunted now?
Ah, a table turn.
Exactly. If you're looking for a more in-depth look at how you can do that, then Dale Kingsmill has a good video on an encounter like this over on her channel, and you can find the link in the description. So what do you say, Red? Have I shown you that I can lead a party on a hunt?
I guess so. Does that mean we're done with the questions?
We are if you are.
That means it's time to look at putting this encounter together.
That it does.
Well, if you're looking for coin, you can always pick up one of my bounties. Let's see here. Looks like there's some sort of drake in the area. If you kill it and bring it back to me, I'll pay you for the effort, and even better for the meat.
This whole encounter starts in a town or similar spot, and you'll need to introduce your party to the butcher in some fashion here. The butcher approaching the party, or the party seeing a sign outside of the butcher's advertising the bounty, is a good start here. If we take a second to expand on that advertisement option though, you could try to spin it as the butcher is advertising some rather exotic meat, which hopefully draws the party in to just ask about how he got it. This presents as a more natural way to drop a quest hook and lets you pick some crazy monster to have some fun with. Most recently, I used manticore meat to draw my party in. Once the butcher is introduced and the meat bounties are explained to the party, they can pick up the work whenever they want. As far as prepping for this goes, the hard part is all done. Now you can pick a creature that you want to run a combat for or that you think your players will have fun with. Then get any map you want for the area, forest, mountain, lakeside, etc. And then you're basically ready to go whenever the party wants to go hunting. As you leave the borders of the town, it doesn't take you long to reach the forest and find a set of tracks that you think will lead you to the drake you're hunting. Once the hunt has begun, just run whatever method of hunting you want. For this, I'll be assuming a skill challenge where everyone can contribute. Quick note here, I'd run this skill challenge a little more loosely than usual and allow characters to help each other for advantage on this one in place of making their own roll, but doing this would also only count as a single success per character. If we're basing the DCs for tracking off of how tough this Rage Drake is, then I'd set it at about a 14 for a 5th level party. Then, as usual, after enough successes, the party can come across their quarry. If we assume that the party walked into this creature's home, then it's most likely going to fight to the death. If they encounter it outside of wherever it calls home, though, then it can run away when combat starts to turn south for it, and the party will have to try hunting it again, maybe at a higher DC. If they get too many failures overall on the hunting skill check, then I'd say the Drake notices and starts hunting them. The party still gets combat, but now they don't have the upper hand. Now, I've said this works for any creature several times, but this is an encounter with a Rage Drake, so let's talk about that. In case you haven't guessed it by the name, it's a Drake with the Rage ability. As if that's not scary enough, it also gets 1 extra die on a crit, above the normal crit dice, a way to knock creatures prone, a grapple and restrain on hit, and a potential 1-round stun. So saying that this is on the upper end of a CR8 creature feels almost like an understatement. But given how poorly CR works in 5th edition, it's also completely warranted. As the Drake leaps down at you from the branches overhead, you can feel its teeth sink into your shoulder as it starts a body roll that knocks you prone. Before you can get to your feet, you realize that it's trying to drag you into some nearby bushes. When it comes to combat tactics, I'd just follow whatever the stat block says for whatever monster you want to use. For the Rage Drake in this case, it's all pretty straightforward. It would open with going into a rage, then, if possible, would try to use 30 feet of its movement to trigger its pounce ability. Once in range, it'll use its claw attack to try and knock its target prone, followed by a bite, potentially at advantage because of prone, which, if it lands, will apply the grappled restrained condition. From there, it'll just focus on whatever it has in its mouth. If the original target gets away and no greater threat or weaker creature presents itself, then it'll do its best to pursue the original target. Rinse and repeat until someone wins. If your party survives, then they can deal with themselves before gathering their catch and heading back to collect their pay. Now, this seems like a pretty tough creature. It does have some balance folded into it, so no need to worry there, but if for some reason you wanted to make this harder, how could you do that? Making this harder has never been easier. Starting with the tracking DCs, you can increase them. I'd probably keep them the same for this creature or specific CR level at almost any tier of play, but you can mess around with them if you want. You can also play around with the required number of successes and failures in the tracking skill challenge. For combat though, this is supposed to be a hard encounter for a 5th level party of 5. If you've got a 10th level party, use 2 drakes to keep it a hard encounter, and for 15th level, use 3 or more. If you don't have the stats for a rage drake or want to use something else, then you can do that too. Hells, you could add in different creatures that are a lower CR than the rage drake to help you hit a more specific level of difficulty. Just say that other creatures in the area see a potential to get an easy meal. Speaking of the difficulty, this encounter was designed to be on the harder side. Reason being, the party is assumed to be fresh upon finding this creature. They haven't fought stuff on their hunt, they haven't taken much damage, if any, or spent many spell slots. If that holds true, then making this a little harder is totally fine, as the party can just go Nova here. Well, now you have another way to completely terrorize your party, in the fun sense, and the best part is, it's fairly low setup. Do it right, and you can even do it repeatedly. For this encounter, I've created a traveling butcher shop location and NPC for you to use should you want to run this encounter. As if it wasn't easy enough, now some of the hardest work is all taken care of. Just plonk it down in your world and watch it go. If you want to grab these for your table, then you can find them on my Patreon, along with lots of other things I've created for my encounters. Otherwise, if you liked this idea and want to show your support, a like and subscribe goes a long way. And if you've run this at your table, or have thoughts on this encounter, then I really would love to hear them. With that though, thanks for letting me talk at you all, and until next time,
Keep pondering.